Welcome back to the Yellow Room Podcast, where it's all about positivity and empowering you to become the very best version of yourself. I'm Nika, the host of this podcast, and I'm so ecstatic that you tuned in for yet another powerful topic intended to empower you. Thank you. Before we get into today's episode, I want you all to hear from one of our fellow Yellow Room family members about how this podcast has been life-changing for her.
Can I just say that I absolutely love the Yellow Room Podcast? It always feels like Nika and I are having this one-on-one conversation about a specific topic, and that she totally gets me and I totally get her. This past Wednesday, the Working Women Wednesday podcast, she talked about conflicting priorities, and let me tell you, that truly spoke with me. It spoke to me, and I look forward every week to her podcast because they are so relatable, they're so honest, and so refreshing. I just love the Yellow Room Podcast. I really do.
Hi ladies, welcome back to Working Woman Wednesday. If you are new here, first and foremost, hello. So a little bit about Working Woman Wednesday. It is an ongoing weekly series geared towards professional development and all of that great stuff for the working woman. But before we jump into today's episode, which is way overdue, it's some good stuff, ladies. So I hope you got time because I do. Anywho, the working woman of the week goes to Miss Rosalind Michelle. She is special. She's super special because she's my soror. But anywho, here is her bio. Rosalind is the owner and solo esthetician at Rosalind Michelle Skin Company. She is a native of Stone Mountain and the youngest of 5. She attended Georgia Southern University, where she became a member of the first and the finest and the greatest sorority there ever is, which is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And she graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Health Education and Promotion and a Master of Healthcare Administration. She started her business a little over a year ago after she quit her job. Go girl. She took that leap of faith, and it's been steadily growing ever since. Listen, God will turn some things around when you rely on Him. All you need is the faith of a mustard seed. She went from working full-time in a lash studio to doing weekly pop-ups in a salon suite across town to build her skin clientele on her days off, to stepping into her own sweet space full-time. Listen, when God tells you to trust the process, that's what you do. She's been at her current location in the Virginia Highland area of Atlanta for about 3 months now. At Rosalind Michelle Skin Company, she provides corrective skin treatments, lash extensions, and brow and body waxing services. That is amazing. So ladies, if you are not currently in the Atlanta area, if you go to visit, make sure you hit her up. In the meantime, you all can follow her on Instagram at rosalind.michelle. I'll spell that out for you all. It's ROSALIND MICHELLE. You can also learn more about her services at rosalindmichelle.glossgenius.com. Let's clap it up for Miss Rosalind, and please, please, please follow her on Instagram and go show her some love. If you would like to nominate a hard-working woman to be featured on an episode and to receive recognition via my social media platforms, please head over to underscore the yellow room on Instagram, and you can look up my Facebook group page, the yellow room, so that we can connect, get to know one another, and you can go ahead and send me the information for the woman that you are nominating. I'm all about giving my sisters recognition for all of their hard work and letting everyone else know all the amazing things that they're doing. If you don't, do the whole social media thing, please feel free to email me at theyellowroompodcast@gmail.com. This is not only limited to, the Working Woman Wednesday nominations. I'm always open to your feedback, any suggestions on topics that you would like to hear more about. If you disagree with anything I say, if you agree with anything I say, I want to hear it all. Ladies, today we are going to have a heart-to-heart conversation on a topic that we need to talk about, because if I can be honest with you all, I am sick of this whole crab bucket mentality when it comes to supporting one another. I don't care how saturated you think your industry or market is. Don't ever feel like you have to dim your sister's light. And yes, I said sisters. We're all in this together. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, you're in corporate America, wherever you are, we're all sisters. You should never feel like you should have to dim the next sister's light in order for yours to shine bright. So we're going to have a very open, real, heartfelt conversation. I hope you all are ready, because I have a lot to say, and I'm gonna warn you, I might be a little all over the place because I have to let it all out. So bear with me, okay? There is strength in numbers. I'm going to repeat that. There is strength in numbers. And the devil will try to strategize. And he really be thinking he's up to something when he sets out to divide us. And for the most part, he's been successful at doing that. But I think that it's time for us to rewrite the narrative of this sisterhood. I don't care what market you're in, what industry you're in, whether you go to a 9-to-5 every day. We all need to start supporting one another and stop trying to outdo or one up the next person. Like, it is not okay. And it just baffles me that people will think that just because their particular industry or market is oversaturated, that they can't look out or help the next person. And it really saddens me, because I just sometimes feel like I don't belong with this whole this mess, I guess. I'm very aware that there's millions of podcasts, let's say for an example, right? But if a fellow podcaster reaches out to me, and they have, and asked me who I use for my podcast host, how do I edit my content? What's the best way to, creatively come up with content? How do I get sponsorships? I freely give away this information, because guess what? Nika knows who she is. Nika knows what her show is all about. Nika knows her unique strengths. Nika knows her goals. And Nika is not threatened by what the next person is trying to do. Nika stays in her own lane. And I think that, it's time for us all to do that while helping one another. The sad reality is that, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, this whole no new friends thing, and I'm loyal to my day ones. I'm not open to any new relationships or anything like that. Let me just say that we're all too old to believe that we can go to the next level in life with the same people. This is not to say that you should get rid of your day ones, because I love mine, but there's a distinction between your day one girls and your business partners. And let me just take it a step further, right? So let's say if I'm the first entrepreneur in my friend group among my day ones, right? Who do I go to when I need advice? Who do I go to when I need someone to, kind of, I guess, bounce ideas off of? Who do I go to when business isn't as steady as I would like? Who do I go to for encouragement when things hit the fan and I don't know what I'm going to do? Yes, your day one friends, they could be there for you to pray for you and all of that, but you're not going to get what you need and the advice that you need from them. That's why it's important. It's important for you to have goal friends, business-minded friends, like friends who have the same mindset as you, friends who are trying. And even if you aren't an entrepreneur, you're an aspiring entrepreneur. If you aspire to stay in corporate America forever, it still applies to you. The people inside of your company that you're working for, your day one friends aren't going to understand your company's strategic direction and your company's overall strategy and goals or whatever to achieve whatever it is that your business goal is. Your day ones, unless they work for the same company as you, they're not going to understand that. So that's why it's so important to collab with people who are in your industry or your market. You get the value add from those relationships is simply amazing. And I'm not sitting here saying just befriend every single person and the leaders of your market or your industry. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about establishing and fostering meaningful relationships so that you can help one another, so that you can discuss your highs and your lows, things that worked well, things that didn't work so well. It's just, I think that those types of relationships, they're simply beautiful. And I just wish that we'd all take on that perspective and mindset, just being open to new things, new thoughts, new people to challenge your old ways of thinking. I can't tell you how many times I've met new people and I, talk business with them. And it's sometimes it's not always what I want to hear in that moment. But when I reflect back on what we discussed and how they challenged some of my thoughts, it's wow, that was such an eye-opener. If I would have talked to who I talk to every single day, they wouldn't have challenged me in a way that new person did. Again, I am not telling you to drop your old friends. I'm just letting you know that it will be very beneficial for you, especially if you want to go far and you want to grow and be stretched in ways that you haven't been before. It's essential that you be open to new relationships. And it's also important that you aren't the drainer in the relationship. And what I mean by that is that you're not always draining, taking, and you never give anything to that person. It should be all about reciprocity. If they're helping you, you need to help them as well. That's just what sisters do. I think that the danger of, not being open to new relationships and, just being great sisters and helping one another out, I think the danger is that you feel that, I can't help this person or I can't bounce ideas off of this person because, she might take my targeted audience or she might do this, she might do that. So we take on this whole mindset of, I'm going to just do it all alone. And sweetie, let me tell you, Jesus himself had 12, not one, 12 disciples. So clearly you can't do it on your own. And if you think that you can do whatever it is on your own, you need to reevaluate whether it's a God assignment placed on you, because he called you to be in a community, a community of people who care about you and who has your best interests at heart. Let me also add, I know I'm not dumb. I've had my share of bad friendships and bad business relationships. I know that not everyone has your best interests at heart. I'm no fool. I'm just saying that you need to be open to the right relationships and the right connections. If anything that I've said thus far is not sitting well with you, or you're having a hard time grasping what I'm saying and you just don't agree, I think that you should take a moment and really try to understand the underlying issue of why it is that you feel that you can't partner or collab with people in your industry, in your market, in your workplace out of fear. I think, and I could be wrong, I don't know your situation, but I think that the underlying issue is that our thought processes have become perverted by pain. And what I mean by that is you may be afraid of a new business relationship, or you may be afraid of linking with a new girlfriend or girlfriend and, doing business, talking about goals, different, all of that great stuff. You may be afraid of that, or that may seem scary to you because you've been let down before and hurt by people who you gave your all. Maybe you're used to being in one-sided relationships or friendships, or maybe you've been that friend who just drains and drains and drains, and you don't know what it's like to be a life-giving friend. I think that our pain affects our processes, and it stifles us from being open to new relationships and new friendships. I would challenge you and tell you that you're hurting yourself. You being isolated and closed off and just unwilling to partner, be a good friend, be a good sister, support her, support him, support their business. You're stifling your own growth. I'll be right back after this message. Hello, Yellow Room family. Today's episode was brought to you by Anchor. I chose Anchor as my podcast host because it is, in fact, the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives me everything I need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. In fact, this episode was created and edited right from my mobile device. Anchor's creation tools allow me to record and edit my podcast on the go to make it sound great. They even distributed my podcast for me so that it can be heard on all platforms, to include Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. For more information, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Before you even shift, if you're having a hard time with wrapping your head around this whole collaboration thing, the first thing you need to do is you need to till your ground. You need to cultivate a mindset that's ready and willing for collaboration so that you aren't a life-draining and just bad sister to the right people that you need in your life. And so you really need to not sweep things under the rug. I keep repeating that in almost every recent episode about how we shouldn't sweep things under the rug because we'll just eventually end up falling on our face. So if anything that I just mentioned about you having trust issues, or you being hurt in past relationships or friendships or business relationships, any of that, if you have communication skills, I can write a novel on that. People don't know how to communicate. And I know it's not always your fault. I know some of us grew up in households where our parents didn't communicate with us effectively. And so guess what? You've picked up poor communication skills as well. However, it's time for us to stop using that as an excuse. We need to deal with things as adults should. So, one, we need to get to the bottom of why is it hard for us to trust people? Why is it hard for us to be open to, new friendships, this whole idea of sisterhood and collabing with one another? Why is it that I can't communicate effectively? Where do I go wrong? If you've received feedback at work, if you've received feedback from friends, family members about your communication and how it's not so great or it's not favorable, take that into consideration. Be open to being a mentor to one another. I think for some people, when they hear the word mentor, they think about, it's somebody who's, been around for a while and they've got this thing all down pat. There is also a such thing as peer-to-peer mentorship. You can be starting out in a new industry or whatever it is that you want to do or that you're currently doing, and you can be clueless. But guess what? You can do it side by side with someone else who's also clueless. You can do it together, and you can bounce ideas off of one another. And I just think you need to take on a mindset, overall, of not putting people down, not talking down on anyone, but just being ready and willing to build one another up. And I know as women, that's sometimes hard for us to do, not talk about people. And sometimes when I get the urge, I'll just, in the back of my mind, think before I even speak on their problems or whatever it is I'm about to say, how can I help them? Instead of me talking bad about them or chatting with the next person to update them on anything, I'm going to add them to my prayer list. And I think I said this in the previous episode. When you speak someone's name in your prayer that you don't necessarily care for, that changes your heart posture. I mean, it's been life-changing for me, and it's just, I don't know. I would encourage you all to start doing that. It's been transformational for me. I would like to give you 3 practical ways that you can start implementing in your life so that you can become a collaborator and not a competitor that's always seeking to one-up the next person. Especially if you feel that whatever you're doing is the calling that God has placed on your life. Because newsflash, again, anything that God has placed on your heart, that assignment requires community. The same way that Jesus needed disciples, you need a community as well. You need people who are going to be in your corner as well. And together we are so much better. We can be the purpose carriers and kingdom builders that God has called us to be. Alone and isolated, the devil is he's going to have a field day with you. And I would hate to see you allow him to slay your dreams and crush the little hope that you do have because things are falling apart because you aren't in alignment with the right people. More than often, it's alignment before assignment. I can't stress it enough how much God has just sent the right people my way. I want to give a special shout out. I've given her a shout out before, but her name is Tamika Chapman. At the beginning of this year, I prayed for the right alignment with the right people and women to be catalysts in my life so that I could really stop being stagnant and sleeping on my calling. And sure enough, it's like she fell out the sky from heaven. I'll go in on her on another day, as I have before. But remember, it's alignment before assignment. So let me give you these 3 ways that you can start being a collaborator, and so that you're ready for alignment. Because I think oftentimes the same way you can pray to God for a relationship, you want a husband, you want this, you want that, you aren't always ready. So this is going to be somewhat of a checklist to make sure that you're ready for the goal friends and the like-minded women that you aspire to be in communication and in community with. Do you choose goals over gossip? Let's say, for instance, let's imagine that we are in the hair care industry and we have so-called friends. Let's say it's a group of 4 of us, right? And 3 of us, let's say we all work in the same salon, right? And the 4th hairstylist, she used to work in our hair salon, but, she kind of wanted to switch things up. So she went to work at another salon. And so now we're always checking for whatever it is that she's doing. Anytime she update her Instagram or Facebook, she's uploading pictures of different things that she's doing, new things that she's trying out, new techniques she's learning. And we're gossiping like, oh, who she thinks she is? And girl, did you see this? Did you see that? Just being real petty or whatever. And let's say that this hairstylist who decided to go off on her own, she also adjusted her prices, right? So she started gaining new skills and developing better techniques. So her price tag went up. And so instead of the 3 so-called friends, sharing her post or sharing her work or applauding her for what it is that she's doing, all they want to do is lurk. They're not liking, they're lurking. And when I tell you it's so many of those people out there, I don't know if people fail to realize, but if you have a business account on Instagram, you will very quickly find out that there are a lot more people that are stalking your page that are liking and commenting and sharing your content. That's another story as well. But instead of those 3 helping and, applauding her or even reaching out to her saying, hey, I see business is booming over there. I see you're doing this, you're doing that. You're establishing great clientele. What is it that you're doing? Or I'm proud of you. How hard is that? How hard is it to tell your sister you're proud of her? Instead, we're always checking for whatever her next move. And so we're hating, saying, oh, who she thinks she is for charging X amount of dollars for that hairstyle. It's just this, it's just that. But you fail to realize that there's strength in numbers, because guess what? A collaborator will reach out to her and say, hey, you mind meeting up sometime? You want to talk on the phone and, share with me the class that you took to gain that new technique. Or can you demonstrate on a mannequin hair? I'm not a hairstylist, but I don't know if I'm saying the right terms, but I hope that you're tracking with me, right? And so it could be more of an exchange instead of competition and just being petty. And guess what? The same way that her price tag went up, your price tag can go up too, because you all can be in community with one another. If you're all in the same industry, particularly if you're in the same area, guess what? You can move forward together. You can level up together, because guess what? Some people will go to the cheapest person they can find to get their hair done. But guess what? What if the new standard is that higher price? Now you're all winning. Now, if you go to that hairstylist who went on her own person, I should have given the hairstylist person A, B, C, whatever, so you all aren't confused. But had you taken the same classes asked her to develop her new skills, or if you simply would have had, some friend time to go over those techniques and skills, you could have been on her level, but you chose to stalk her on Instagram or Facebook from far away and admiring her from far away and refusing to ever tell her that you're proud of her. So now there's just this hatred, and you just a hater, essentially. Do you choose being a problem solver over a problem starter? And can you honestly answer that, right? So back to tilling your soil, really getting at the root of your communication issues, your inability to see and understand other people's perspectives. Are you a person that makes assumptions all the time? We all know what they say. People that make assumptions make you know what out of themselves, right? So how do you deal with difficult conversations? How do you react when someone challenges your thoughts? Do you turn it into a problem? Or do you look for ways to iron out some things? If you have real sisters, I do. One in particular, I argue with her every single day. Like, she gets on my everlasting nerves. Like, she hits all my nerves, y'all, right? I think she has middle child syndrome. If you don't know what that is, look it up, right? But anyway, we're sisters. So guess what? Yes, we bump heads probably more than we should, right? But it's all love. It's all love. I understand her. She understands me. And that's just how it is. We both know that we have certain ways of doing things. We are two very, very, very different people. We have very different perspectives. But I've learned to be open and trying to understand why it is she thinks that way. The same is true if you're going to be in collaboration with other women. You're not going to always agree 100% on everything. And if you do, that's strange to me. I just feel like when someone is constantly always in agreement with me, or they never challenge me, for one, I think they're stunning my growth. And two, I just think that they're being dishonest, because there is no way that there's two humans on this earth that just are alike in all ways. So I think that you need to evaluate how you deal with challenging issues. Do you turn it into a bigger problem than it already is? Or do you really go in with the mindset of, how can we talk things through? How can we hash this out like two mature adults? In an attempt to be that problem solver, always be mindful of how you say things, because I know you all have heard the saying that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I know sometimes, especially for me, if someone says something to me sideways, or they say something to me that I don't like initially, I'm like snappy or whatever. And so I've tried to kind of wait a few seconds and just internalize whatever that was said, so that I don't respond out of my own emotions, right? So a lot of times, I know for myself, sometimes I internalize too deeply. I think too deep into what's going on or what's being said. But when I sit back and reflect, like, will this really matter in, let's say, a year? Like, will my feelings still be hurt in a year? Most of the time it's no. Like, I'm just in my own feelings and I just need to get over it, right? So I think that whenever you're dealing with other women, and it's inevitable, again, we're all different. Like, we're going to have different varying perspectives, and we're going to see issues differently, right? And so whenever you run into those inevitable situations, Try spinning your problems, like framing your problems in the form of a question, right? Our brains, they love questions, and we're all smart, right? We're very intelligent women. We're business-minded women. We're all of that good stuff. So if we make that question to be powerful and engaging, our brains will naturally do everything within their power to answer that question. Now, imagine a group of 6 women, all of our brains working like that at the same time. Like, we can be the next Einsteins. Maybe not quite, but I mean, we can we could be a force together. Lastly, are you open to building together, or are you just going to stay bitter? I think for many women, they're bitter. Like, that's just their story. And I think social media plays a lot into this. I think that people, and this goes back to staying in your own lane, people look at the highlight reel of the other people that's doing something similar to what they're doing, and they don't understand the failures that person that they are secretly admiring, but they're really, they're also bitter over. They don't understand what it took for that person to get to where they are. What if, you're a new entrepreneur and you're having a hard time financially? Like, you've made a big investment into your business. Let's say you walked away from your 9 to 5 and things aren't going the way you intended for them to go. But yet you get on social media every day and you have a follower who's doing the same line of work that you are, right? She has thousands of followers. Her followers are engaged with her. She's getting money from afar. As far as what you can tell, you probably don't even know her in real life, right? And so you go and stalk her page and you're bitter. Like, you're just being a hater. Like, well, how did she do this? And how did she do that? And blah, blah, blah. But guess what? What if it's her winning season and it's just your birthing season? What if God is birthing some things down on the inside of you that aren't really ready to blossom yet? What if her birthing season looked like maybe she was a divorced woman? Maybe she had 3 kids and she got laid off. Maybe she was in 9 to 5. Had a 9 to 5 as well. And she got laid off at a very inconvenient time with 3 children. So she was forced into entrepreneurship and she grinded it out by any means to make things work for herself and for her 3 children. And now all of those years of the blood, sweat, and tears that she put in behind the scenes, now that's what you see. But you don't know what's on the other side of her glory, right? You don't know her story. All you know is, I don't know who she thinks she is, and you secretly want to be her, but guess what? God won't bless your mess. So you're going to have to get over being bitter, and you're going to have to be open to building one another. How about you write her and let her know how inspired you are by her and how great you see that her business is booming? Ask her how you can support her. You want me to share your new content? You want me to share your new products? Or how about you don't even ask her to do it? You just do it. And you lead your client, your fan base on social media to her, right? But it's not out of, oh, she's gonna take my targeted audience. It's no, like, we're gonna collab together, because guess what? By you sharing her stuff, that's probably more than likely going to get her attention. So guess what? Now she's going to start sharing your stuff to her thousands of followers. I hope that you all are following what I'm saying. Like, being bitter is no good for you. It's a detriment to your success. And God doesn't want that. He does not want that. You looking at her thinking that her grass is greener, but guess what? It's greener because she's watering hers. What are you doing to yours? You're busy watching hers. I just pray that all of you all are receptive to what I've said on this episode. I want to challenge you all over the next, I'll say, week. Let's start small. I want you to really ask yourself, are you serious about being a collaborator, right? And I want you to strategically and intentionally do something every single day for a week straight that I've referenced in this episode today. I want you to then follow up with me and let me know how it's changed your perspective, or how, are you seeing a difference in your business? Using the example of you sharing someone else's product or their content, right? And then they start doing the same thing for you. And so now, guess what? You're reaching more people because of the kind gesture that you did. I want you all to really be serious about that. And if you're very, very serious and you're looking, maybe you don't have women in your circle just yet who you'd even consider being in collaboration with. And I just want to add, your collaborators, they don't have to necessarily be in your industry. Sometimes having people in a different industry from yours, that can present new perspectives in itself. But if you let's say you don't have a group of women that come to mind where it's like, okay, I want to partner with them, I want you all to be on the lookout. If you are in the DMV area, I want you all to be on the lookout. I will be hosting an event, right? And it's going to be a great time. We're going to have fun, but it's coming in December. Details will be disclosed probably within the next week, but I want you there if you're serious about being a collaborator and not a competitor. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. If you are new here, please consider subscribing on whatever platform you're listening in on today. Leave me a rating, leave me a review, comment, whatever you feel that you want to do. If you already consider yourself a part of the Yellow Room family, please consider making a small monthly donation to sustain and contribute to my growing platform. No amount is too small. Donations can be made at anchor.fm/theyellowroom/support. If you are unable to, I still love you just the same. You can still support me by listening, sharing, and providing feedback. I thank you all so much, and I appreciate your continued listenership. Thank you.